Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Tristan.
And David.
And today on our Spilling the Green Tea podcast, we are talking about comfort foods. I love comfort food. I love food of all kinds, but comfort there's a certain thing about comfort. I mean, I guess that's why they call it comfort food, right?
Yes.
That it just brings you back to a certain time in your life, or it makes you feel cozy. I guess it's cozy food is the best way to explain it.
Rib stickins.
Rib stickins?
Yeah.
Stick to your ribs? Yeah. Well, Mom cooked a lot. I guess it was kind of the heritage thing. So there are a lot of things that like bring me back to my mom's cooking, like um, stuffed cabbage for sure, stuffed peppers. Um, she made those a lot, but probably the one thing that we made the most um, is pierogies.
Many of
Many pierogies. Um, like we like all the time pierogies, especially uh, there were like a lot of weird enough, but there are a lot of funerals that I remember growing up. When my grandfather passed away, and then uh, one of mom's uncles, it would have been my great uncle, passed away, and then there was another one that I remember like making food for the funerals were like all of our heritage food. So of course, like the stuffed peppers and all that, but pierogies. And I remember like always having, even when there wasn't like an occasion or a funeral, heaven forbid, but always making pierogies. And I was actually going to bring it up, the our pierogi iron that was inherited after one of the pierogi cooking. I mean, that pierogi iron is probably 50 years old, if not more.
Probably older.
Yeah. And she wound up with it. And now that she's passed, now I have it. So, and the last time we used it was for when we did Relay for Life. And we made like 200 dozen pierogies.
It was like 300 dozen.
300 dozen pierogies. We went through 2 KitchenAid rollers because
apparently they're designed to fail, which we didn't know.
Well, they have a safety to it, so you don't blow the motor of the actual mixer, because
they make the parts
the attachment parts, they have plastic clips in them. Yeah. So if it's gonna jam, which would ruin the mixer, it breaks the thing. But it's like unfixable.
Yeah, they just
So we got 2 new sets and had to buy 2 new sets to get all of it done for Relay. But yeah, pierogies were always a thing. Even when I remember when I was in middle school, I stupidly told one of the teachers, he was talking about pierogies or something. I said, "Oh yeah, Mom makes homemade pierogies all the time," and she did. I mean, she didn't make them like marathon cooking sessions, right, but she would make a couple dozen. So there was always pierogies in the freezer. But when he was like, oh yeah, if she makes them, yeah, would you think she'd buy them? And me being the entrepreneur, I'm like, sure, of course. Well, he loved them. When I took him to school, he bought like 2 dozen of them. Well, that led to me taking like literally 30 dozen a week into school, because of course he told them, and he ate them during like, in the teacher's lounge for lunch and whatnot. And yeah, I ended up starting to take like 20-30 dozen pierogies on the school bus, all in like to-go containers. We got to-go containers at Sam's Club or something like that. So I had, and she'd fit probably like maybe 4 or 5 containers would fit into a grocery, like a Shop and Save bag. So there I go with 4 or 5 bags of pierogies on the school bus, and then I'd take them into the cafeteria, and they, because it was the teacher's food, to put it in. But like after a couple months of it, they're like, yeah, this has to stop because like you're literally like we have no space to put.
Oh yeah, you're taking up
all the space. Yeah, in the coolers and she's like, yeah, this can't go on anymore. But it went on for like a good probably 3 or 4 months of taking pierogies in like every week or every other week. A lot of pierogies. And like they wanted like special ones like the prune butter ones. Weird. They're very traditional. It's called Lekvar, Lekvar, I think. But it's like kind of like the nut paste that's in a nut roll, but prune.
Oh. So.
Well, it's a sweet pierogi. They weren't my favorite. They weren't bad. But if you like prune and you like sweet, then okay. But I like that she would make them sometimes. Like if she was doing dessert ones, she would use like apple pie filling or cherry pie filling. And they'd be okay if you deep fried them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I remember the one teacher always like, can you make Lekvar ones? Of course. And I had no idea what it was, so I forget where we got it. Probably like at the specialty baking store. And it came in a little jar, just like the nut filling. But yeah, prune ones too.
Yeah, I've not heard of that before. I don't think I would care for that.
Well, if I see them, because they have the festivals and everything all the time. If we ever come across them, we'll have to get some. Because I won't make them because I wasn't a huge enough fan. But like they're edible.
Something to try.
It's something for you to try. Yeah. But in that tradition, I mean, I didn't feel like rocking out pierogies, like traditional pierogies. So we made Lazy Day pierogies today, which was another thing that like was always a big hit for like potlucks and stuff, because everyone liked pierogies, period. But sometimes you just don't want to have to roll out the dough, make the filling, to go through all the rigmarole, because it's a process. So that's why, like, if you do make them, it's cool to make a marathon and then you have them in the freezer for the entire year, because they last really well in the freezer. But yeah, we made Lazy Day pierogies. So there it is, yummy, delicious. It's the same thing, same filling, but instead you use lasagna noodles and you layer it just like a lasagna. And we made yummy, delicious mashed potatoes. You made them; they were really good. So we put that in there with sautéed onions and butter, and then cheese. And also bacon, because we had some bacon, so I figured we'd add some bacon onto that.
Totally forgot about that part.
So we have the whole works there. You gonna have a taste? Let's have a taste. She's still cooling down a little bit, but I said you might catch us eating.
I'm hungry.
And also hungry because I didn't have anything for lunch today. All I had was coffee. How was she?
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Crispy bits.
Well, you worried me, right? Just don't mind us. We're just going to sit here and eat.
Literally haven't eaten anything all day.
Well, you worried me when
I
you...
did have a cookie. I think that's
Yeah, you have one of those cookies. Loft House chocolate, triple chocolate cookies. They're really good.
Not bad. I worried you. Oh, when I said it was brown.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was delicious.
It is.
Yes. You worried me because you said I had him go and check because the timer...
It's definitely browned or something.
Yeah, you said... Well, I wondered if it was done yet. And you said that it's brown on top. But it's the good brown. It's the crispy brown. And some of the mashed potatoes even got like the shepherd's pie crispiness on it. Absolutely delicious.
Not mad at all.
No. So we'll demolish that here after we're done recording. I could definitely do it all right now, but I'm going to set it out of arm's reach because I will sit here and eat it and not feel ashamed about it. Look, she's got new glasses on today.
So
Mmm.
fancy.
They are. I can see across the room, and
It's crazy.
that's a good thing.
It is.
Yeah. So let's see what other meatloaf. I always liked my meatloaf when I made meatloaf better because I always made.
Doctored it up.
Well, yeah, I made it fancy. I mean, her meatloaf was all right, but she did like the basic old school, like ground beef and pork, some eggs and breadcrumbs, and then just ketchup. It's like, whatever.
Need some peppers.
Well,
need some
Well, yeah,
onions.
normally when we make it, we put lots of peppers in it because I like bell peppers. And we typically make 2 big ones because we cook for the freezer. We haven't made meat. Actually, we took meatloaf out the other day that we had made. We made that was that barbecue meatloaf.
It was a good one too.
It was really good meatloaf. It had It was bacon. There was bacon in it because that's when the old
cheese.
the well the original. Well, it's not. It's the same Shop and Save, but we used to get the bulk bacon, and we took it out to have the other day last Thursday because it was when we were supposed to record.
Oh yeah, that's weird.
And then that turned into an entire thing. But yeah, the power went out. So
For 16 hours.
For 16 hours, yeah. So needless to say, we didn't have the meatloaf because there was no way to heat it up. And then it sat in the refrigerator with no power.
I wasn't trusting that.
So we didn't have the meatloaf.
Lasagna though.
Oh, lasagna.
That's probably either lasagna or
Well, that's what
mac
I
and
asked you
cheese.
before we started recording, like what your favorite foods growing up were, and you said that your mom didn't really cook that much. So you didn't really have any comfort food.
Mostly steak and potatoes.
Steak and potatoes.
That's basically.
But now
So
I cook
potatoes were basically my comfort food.
potatoes. Well, that's still even true. Like you
Like,
love
I could just sit there and
you
eat
like
a huge bowl of mashed potatoes.
fresh mashed potatoes.
No problem.
Well, now that I cook for you all the time, you said lasagna is
Lasagna
your
is
favorite.
probably my
I do make a good lasagna.
favorite. Yes, with the cream cheese and everything.
With the everything cheese. Usually we put about a dozen cheeses in it,
And we also make 2
cream
trays of
cheese
that.
and 2 trays because, of course, cooking for the freezer. Well, you can't really make lasagna for 2 people. I mean, you can make a tiny little
It's kind
pan,
of a waste.
but who does that? So you have to use the half sheet trays and make 2 of them. And
What is your malfunction?
our
Cat is
cat
being-
Risotto is sitting on a table, the other table over here, and he keeps like dead staring outside, like there's someone
Outside
out
and
there,
outside the door.
like there's someone around, but there's literally
There's
no one here.
there.
There's no one.
No.
So just take a minute. Earlier today, when we were doing office hours,
He's gonna knock
he
everything down.
he wants to come and visit. Oh, because I bet that's what it. Maybe he's smelling the pierogies. Get down.
Flop.
When we were doing office hours earlier this morning, he knocked over your coffee. Yes.
All over my laptop. Yeah, you did.
All over the laptop. So he got screamed at, but we cleaned it up, and you found out that it is a spill-resistant keyboard.
So-
I still don't believe that that's a thing because electronics and water or coffee or any liquids don't go together.
That's what the interweb said, so it must be
Well,
true.
if it's on the internet, then it must be true, sure. So, yeah, my lasagna is pretty famous. And lots of meat. We usually like ground beef and like some Italian sausage, lots of peppers, fresh tomatoes, carrots, lots of vegetables in it because it just makes the flavor so much better.
They absorb
and then-
everything.
Lots of cheese, cream cheese, ricotta cheese. What?
You use cottage cheese?
No, I use ricotta. I think maybe once might have made
I
it with
think you
cottage cheese,
I
but
made it carefully.
well, it's okay. It's just cottage cheese when you cook it in lasagna, and it's perfectly fine because it's just like any other cheese. But the curds are so tight, they don't melt.
No, they're there.
Like, ricotta is definitely, like, the go-to. Like, you have to use ricotta cheese. People usually use cottage cheese in replacement of cottage cheese. Or did I say... They use cottage cheese in replacement of ricotta cheese because it's lower in fat. That's really the only reason to use cottage cheese.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't worry now.
Because it holds up the same way that ricotta does. It doesn't melt. But when you mix ricotta with your egg mixture and basil and parsley and all that, then it's still softer because it's not huge curds.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then, of course, it incorporates with the cream cheese and all the other melty cheese, provolone.
20 pounds of cheese.
20 pounds of cheese. Well, those when we use the half sheet tray to make lasagna, that it definitely weighs 20 pounds easily. Maybe I'll post a picture of my famous lasagna on this in the comments below here, and you tell us what your favorite foods are too. I'm trying to think of what else I like. I mean, I like everything. Well, I mean, one of my biggest comfort foods that's not like food is ice cream.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, it's not untypical that we don't have ice cream every day.
Usually,
at least every other day. Sometimes it just depends, because if I get on the scale and it's like, girl, you need to chill out, then I'll be like, okay, I don't need to have ice cream today. But there's so many good ice creams. Like, we love Turkey Hill. And depending on whether or not it's on sale or not, we'll get Blue Bunny or another brand. But, yeah. Usually Turkey Hill, because Turkey Hills are definitely our go-to. But the thing with, like, Shop and Save, there's usually one of the brands is typically always on sale. So if we're getting ice cream for the week or a couple weeks, then we'll get 3 or 4 of them, and they'll last a couple of days. Well, that's partially your fault, because you are the one that started the whole, are we just having like the entire thing of ice cream?
I did, because I got tired of it.
Well, no, what I don't like about it is when, and you don't have to have all the ice cream at once. So if we have a half a gallon, you don't have to split that amongst us. You can have, like, it's supposed to be like 8 servings, but 9 servings? No one's eating 9 servings of ice cream. You might get 4.
It's like half a cup.
I think the serving size is like 3/4 of a cup.
Maybe less than that.
No one's eating 3/4 of a cup of ice cream.
It's like 3 bites.
No. Well, you know what? Mariah Carey used to say that she used to eat whatever she wanted, but she'd only have 1 bite of it and throw the rest away. Wow, when you got millions of dollars, you can throw your ice cream away, I guess. But ain't no throwing ice cream away in this house.
No. It's legal.
But yeah, ice cream, baked goods. Well, any baking, because that like brings me back to like baking it for the holidays are always like a big thing. But we don't do much of that anymore.
Well, we used to do like the cookie baking and all that.
Well, part of the problem is not just because Mom's no longer here, that if we're not baking now for winter, it's not going to happen. Because starting next month is when like the constant flow of orders is nonstop from now and through after January. Because we didn't stop in December last year. Our January was like the best January we've had on record. And then COVID hit. And we didn't slow down even. We didn't start slowing down last year probably until June-ish. I think that's when we started dipping. And this year it's probably been the same. Like July, August has been like, yeah. Well, what can you do? You have pierogi, at least the pierogies to keep your hopes up.
You do.
So, Icer, what else? You have to have some things that you like other than my lasagna.
I mean, lasagna, mac and cheese.
Mac and
this that.
cheese.
My main thing is candy. I could live on candy. Like, that's not an exaggeration.
You have a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
I equally have a sweet tooth.
But it's to a fault, to the point where I would choose 100% to eat a bag
Just
of
candy all the
gummies
time?
than actual food.
You'd rather have gummies than candy.
I could live off of gummy candy. I know I could.
I like gummy candy
That would be
just like
horrible.
you do, but I have to have food. I have to have savory. It's even even when I'm having dessert, sometimes I have to have two of the like 4 taste buds. Like I have to have salty and sweet,
Oh, yeah.
or
Combination.
sweet and something savory. It's like a chocolate covered pretzel is
Well,
ridiculous.
that's like why you like peanut butter stuff.
Peanut butter, anything, definitely.
I could just eat peanut butter too. I do. Just randomly get a spoonful of it.
Just a spoon of peanut butter.
Yeah.
Just a lot of calories.
It's good for you.
It's a healthy fat. I don't think I'm sure I have eaten it off a spoon, but
I used to just put it in the freezer and eat it like ice cream.
frozen peanut butter? That's weird.
It tastes good.
Frozen peanut butter.
It's like impossible to choose sorbet.
No, I'm good on the frozen peanut butter. No.
He's like that.
So what else? Candy? You like candy? You like my lasagna? You like everything I cook. There's
Basically, except for what was it? Chicken biryani, whatever it was.
No, you like when I make chicken biryani. You just didn't like it when I put bay leaves in it.
Oh, didn't like that.
It was too herbaceous for you.
I mean, it tasted like you just went outside and licked some plants. Literally what it tasted like.
Well, traditionally it has it in there, but you like a more sweet curry than you do the herby-ishness.
Yeah, I didn't like that. And I never let you live that down anytime.
And then you also, I remember when we first started going out and I made a salad and I put tuna in it with Italian dressing, you put up a big fuss. You're like, that was like the grossest salad I've ever had.
And
now,
fancy salad.
And now, when I make my fancy salad, which is the exact same thing, but more fancy with more ingredients in it, you can't get enough of it.
But I used to hate mustard too, and now I like that.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess it's just because, like, the way that you ate just meat and potatoes growing up, you didn't explore, like, more. But I was the same way. Like, we didn't eat fancy food because there wasn't any money. So it was all of the, like, the cheap cuts of meat, the Polish heritage food, because it was fairly inexpensive. I mean, you're talking about, like, potatoes and dough. Like, you can feed a lot of people with potatoes and dough.
Yep.
So, yeah. I didn't start really experiencing, like, I didn't even have, like, I was thinking last night about Chinese food. Like, when the first time, I think my mom went to the one Polynesian restaurant, and I was so jealous that they went to this Polynesian restaurant. So, like, months later, she ended up taking me, and I had sweet and sour chicken for the first time. And it was like, what is this? And now Chinese is, like, I probably my favorite.
Yeah, it is. That's your favorite, man.
You like Italian. Yeah. You like pasta.
Hard.
My ethnic go-to is, I mean, I like it all. I like Mexican too. I like Italian. But probably Chinese. Just because it's really good.
Yeah.
And
it's like every flavor, basically.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of umami in it,
Yeah,
and
that.
and especially if you go to buffet, then there's like everything there. Crystal shrimp. Someone made it. I saw it. Someone on Facebook shared the other day that they made crystal shrimp, and it looked really, really, really good. We attempted the chicken once.
Oh, is that okay?
It was fine. The sauce wasn't right, and if I remember, it was great. The sauce.
We were like, why does it look like
well, I think
ground
it's
up black walnuts?
well, no, I think that's what had happened because it was like a white sweet sauce for honey walnut chicken, and I don't think you were supposed to like cook the walnuts with it,
but it was
because
It was
all the
great.
color leached out, and it was definitely gray.
it
The
was very
sauce was
Bridget
gray.
Jones blue string soup.
Yes, it was good, but it was gray. So we'll have to give it another try
Yeah.
because the recipe that he showed seemed very easy.
We assumed it was easy.
It's just cornstarch and honey and some water and
That's it.
walnut extract. So,
We'll try it again.
yeah. Give it a try. Is there any other foods that pop to mind?
No. Just thinking about this food.
You're thinking about tearing into that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's all we have for comfort foods. Hopefully you found this podcast interesting and at least made you giggle.
Hopefully.
But yeah, we love comfort foods. You like all my food.
I do. I mean, don't honestly nothing you've cooked I
That's because I know how to
didn't
cook.
like. You definitely do.
Well, cooking is one of those things. Like, it's. I mean, you either like cook because you have to cook because you have to eat, or you cook because you have like a passion. Like I think the idea of me like being a cook or even owning a restaurant. Never say never, but like, I think if I was in that position, I wouldn't like it as much.
No.
It's the same thing like when I do marathon cooking for Thanksgiving.
You don't even
By
wanna
the
eat.
time I'm done cooking and by the time the meal's ready, I'll have a couple of bites and then I'll leftovers. Because it's like you go through all the hassle and you can't enjoy it as much. But if I'm cooking for you or if we have guests over, then like that cooking, like you express what's the word I'm looking for? Oh yeah, you express your love in a certain way when you're cooking for someone because you want them to enjoy it, and typically everyone does. But yeah, you give a piece of yourself, and like you obviously learned how to cook this somewhere, so you're giving of yourself to
Yeah.
whoever you're feeding. I mean, that's what comfort food is. Like your first memories are typically like your mom cooking for you. Not your case. Although you said the clam chowder soup.
It's like not soup. Well, it's something.
It's something. Clams and milk.
That's what I grew up on.
Wow. So I guess that's all. We're a little under. Probably by the time I'm done saying this, we'll be at 30 minutes, and that sounds like a good time for me. I'm gonna go and we're gonna eat our Lazy Day pierogies, and probably have some ice cream later. Who knows? Something. Yeah. I didn't have ice cream yesterday. I had cookies last night, so I'll probably have ice cream tonight. All right. Well, please let us know if you enjoyed this. Give us a like, comment, and tell us what comfort foods you like. If you have a recipe that you'd like to share with us, let us know, and we'll check it out. But yeah, I think that's it. Catch us next week for our last podcast of the month. It'll be Hot Topics. Still pondering what we're going to be discussing.
We'll figure it out.
we'll see.
We have a week.
We have a week. That's what you say every week, and then
the
I
day
mess.
comes and I'm like,
I say, oh yeah. Do we have
oops.
what did I say? Do we have noodles? What's the cheese situation?
Yeah, what's the cheese?
What's the cheese sitch? Because I didn't know if we had to go to the grocery store to make the Lazy Day pierogies for today. Because you totally forgot that it was Thursday.
Even though it's garbage day.
Even though it was garbage day last night. You should know, like, if it's garbage day, like, oh, I should prepare myself after I take this garbage out for tomorrow's podcast. Right over your head.
Right over.
Oh, well. Yeah, well, so join us next week for our Hot Topics podcast, and we'll see what we're going to talk about. It'll be fun, and yeah, that'll be next week. But for now, we're going to go eat, so we will catch you later. Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.